Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everyone, to You've Championed Yourself. Who are you? I'm Chris Ferguson, your host, and it has always been a dream of mine to showcase ordinary people doing extraordinary things in their lives, in their career, and for other people. Those who have taken their dreams and ideas and turned it into their reality. As they reach beyond their personal struggles or personal pains or traumas where so many people give up and they lose hope, these people don't. Those few walk through their obstacles. They walk beyond their challenges. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what their next step is. But they know enough to trust themselves enough to do the follow through, to not give up in their personal life, their career, and relationships. And this is what I call a champion in life. And today I have an amazing individual with me. His name is Ed Garza. And he has such I want to say eclectic story, but it is so beautiful. So let's welcome Ed to the podcast. Hello.
Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's my honor to have you here. And after knowing the part of your story that you shared, can we start with your backstory from where you were to how you got where you are now?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a single child. So I was loved by my parents. They did everything you possibly could do to ensure my safety, a good upbringing, and establishing habits that really matter to me today. That kind of set a foundation for my life. Right. So, it's interesting. I came from a background in Houston, Texas, where most of my family was usually in third wards, first wards, bad areas of the community. And honestly, a lot of my cousins, a lot of my uncles either ended up in jail or on drugs and a lot of different problems. And, I look back at my parents and how they decided to move out of that area and move into Bel Air, which is a really prominent area of Houston, send me to a private school, Roman Catholic school, growing up, and just sort of insulated me from a lot of that. Of course, Spanish is my background. All of my cousins, uncles, brothers, and different my dad's brothers, and just everybody in my family spoke Spanish. But Spanish was not allowed to be spoken in my house. It was kind of a interesting fact. So I didn't have a lot of chance to relate to my cousins. You understand? It kind of protected me and insulated me from a lot of that. So I stayed away from that. So for that, I'm grateful. I really am. I truly believe it saved my life.
I love that because the thing is most people have they have a background story, and it's those obstacles and those challenges that it's a choice that they make to do something different.
Yes.
Because I'm one of 11 children. And at the age of 8, my mother and father got divorced at a time when society norms said, you can't get divorced. Mm-hmm. And the priest told my mother, a single woman can't raise 6 kids by herself. We'll help you. So I had my birthday in February. I had my first Holy Communion in May. And on June 6th of that year, I found myself being orphaned and separated from all my brothers and sisters. So I understand the traumas and the pains, but I also understand the choices it takes to change your life. And I honor your parents because they didn't give up on themselves and they didn't give up on you.
Right. My father had several brothers and sisters. The only one that went to college at University of Houston, worked hard. I went with him to night school at the University of Houston as he studied after work, and saw that growing up, how hard he worked. And to me, that, what great lessons that are, and even on Saturdays, he would dedicate himself to take a bucket of baseballs, 100 baseballs, and go to our elementary school and throw them at me so I could practice baseball. We would do that almost every Saturday. And just establishing habits like that are just what a life lesson that was for me, really.
And it's life-changing because he made an investment and he taught you what that investment was in life. Mm-hmm. And we need more of that now, especially now where people can't even be tolerant of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And there was, I grew up playing baseball, Chris. I mean, I loved it. I played little league, and because of that practice every Saturday, I mean, I had fun. I usually batted fourth, and usually when came up to bat when I was in Pee Wee League or a little elementary little league, people would back up, because they know I could hit the ball, and it was because of that daily practice. Well, when I got to high school, I hurt myself in baseball, and I had to shift careers. I had to really kind of think a little differently. I had a counselor tell me, maybe you should take theater or public speaking. And I said, I was kind of a shy person growing up. I was the only child. Me, drama, no thanks, right? But I took a leap and I did it. And that ended up being a huge paradigm shift in my life.
Well, I now see why what we're going to talk about next is the reason why. And this is why I'm asking you about your backstory.
Yes.
Because you were instrumental in helping a family where the mother was killed in an accident, help it raise money to help support the 4 orphan children. And so that just speaks of your soul and your heart space. And can we talk about that? What motivated you to do that, Ed?
Well, I was in a boating community at the time in the Galveston area, Seabrook, different areas like that in the community. And I worked for a boat club at the time. So it was usually every day we were out on the boat giving tours, sunset cruises. And this certain individual just loved to join us at our networking events and go on boat parades, raising money for other people and the veterans and so forth. And one day after an event, she became a very close friend of mine and a community leader working for a real estate group. She had 4 kids. She got into a Corvette or the top down. And I don't know the whole story, but they ended up racing a motorcycle and it didn't end well.
Yeah.
She was not driving. No, she was thrown to the second floor. The next morning, the kids, because they knew me, 2 of the kids came to my front door looking for their mom. Ooh. And I said, well, she's not with me, right? I don't know where she's at. This was a week before Father's Day.
Wow.
And their older son was in the Air Force in San Antonio. He was in what they call it, base camp, right? Exactly. So something really sparked in my heart, and a couple of my friends said, listen, why don't we had some influence in the market because of videos that I'd been doing in the past. I had a big reach. And back then Facebook was a little different. Big Mama, Big Daddy wasn't looking over it, right? So it was a little easier to make things happen and invite people to an event and to get people to raise their hand that want to help. So we launched an event just kind of whimsical, just put it on Facebook and asked for help. And people thought I was crazy that I wanted to do it in 7 days because there was only 7 days that we had because that was the only day, Father's Day, that the older son could get away.
Mm-hmm.
The only time he was allowed to get away.
Right.
So I said, let's let it rip, tater chip. Let's do it. Right. So we planned the event and we started posting on Facebook, started contacting friends, and it just went viral. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, everything just sort of poured in. We were receiving silent auction items. We had to tell them to stop by Wednesday because we had so many. Right. We had a local bank said donate one of their ATM machines for the event, so that we could actually place it at the event. We had a marina, Endeavor Marina, donate their space above their restaurant, which was a beautiful space overlooking the bay, the Galveston Bay, and it was an empty room that they donated for us. They provided all the tables, all the chairs. I had 7 bands that were full set bands volunteered their time to come and play throughout the day. Had magicians come and help entertain the kids. We even had someone buy white doves, one of her close friends, to let the kids let them go over the bay. we had hundreds of silent auction items, live auction items. It was just absolutely incredible. Plus, we pre-sold 1,000 barbecue plates um, ahead of time. We had a whole barbecue team volunteer, buy everything from the potato salad to bread to the brisket and the sausage and everything else that you could possibly imagine to eat. Um, and because it was Father's Day, a lot of people criticized us on Tuesday and Wednesday. Like, why are you doing this on Father's Day? We're all going to be busy, right? So it was interesting. It was great because these kids lost their father and their mother, right?
Mhm.
Both. I said, well, it's a chance for you to be their parent for just a day, right? Come and support them. Even if you can't make it to the event, we marketed it and said, listen, why don't we set up a drive-through? So we set up a tent. The barbecue team let people drive through and pick up barbecue plates. Then we had an early delivery system. They weren't Uber yet, but it was a restaurant that delivered food for a variety of other restaurants in the community. She called me and said, we're going to shut down. We want to do delivery for people to take food to their home for Father's Day. So they that's what they did. They collected orders and they took plates, and car dealerships were buying plates, and it was phenomenal. There was hundreds of volunteers. I couldn't have done it without them. Obviously, I was exhausted the next 2 days, but it was absolutely incredible.
But it's the act that you took that created this whole process.
Yes, it was an incredible time, and it spurred and inspired several other events, like the Subway franchises in the area decided to do, hey, listen, breakfast and lunch. If you guys want to come buy a sandwich, there was like 2 or 3 of them. We'll donate 100% proceeds. And then there was another restaurant after that decided to do a small fundraiser as well. And then a lot of the boating community decided to do some other stuff with a boat parade to raise money for her as well. So it spurred about 4 other events after that. But I mean, it was an incredibly humbling experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a short period, but we got it done, and it was quality. It was really fun. Yeah, we have a whole video that shows it. I don't know if you had a chance to watch
I watched the video. The video, and it's absolutely amazing what one person can do to change the world.
Yeah. Yep, and those kids needed it. I mean,
sure.
It was people. If you would have seen it, even in the day of the event during the live auction, people had airline miles on their credit cards they were giving away and auctioning off. I mean, that's how inspiring it was throughout the entire day.
I love it. The
word got out. Channel 13 showed up. We didn't ask them to. ABC, to do a story on us and what we were doing for this family. It was phenomenal. Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
Can we talk about how your I love this. You went and bought a mic.
Yes.
You went to a cafe, like I don't know if it was Starbucks or whatever that was back in the day, or just a local cafe in Houston.
Yes.
And said, hey, can I interview business people in here? And they said yes. And where did that go, Ed? How did that go?
Yeah, well, that was at a point where I just really was kind of at a down point in my life, and I just wanted to reach out to people. That's the best thing I knew what to do, right? Just put a microphone in front of me and I'll talk.
Right. I feel that way now myself. Now that I have a voice and I can speak my piece. So
so I decided, the name of the shop, they're closed now, but it was called Coffee Grounds with a Z. And it was a great place. It was close to the tech center, Midtown, a lot of businesses in the area. Showed up working there for a couple of hours. So it was easy to invite people there. So that's exactly what we did. We put the event on Facebook. This was prior to this event that we just talked about. And we just started to interview businesses, inviting them there. Sometimes 5 people would show up, 8 people, 10 people, 15 people from all walks of life. Chiropractors, doctors, physicians, physical therapists, franchise owners, roofers, garage door companies, people in network marketing, you name it. Every type of field you could possibly think of showed up there. And I liked it because it was challenging for me, because I got to talk to different industries and ask them questions and try to pull out of them, the deep things that they need to share with their audience. And I always ended my interviews with one thing. I always asked them, hey, what one thing would you want people to know about you if they never met you again? So I would try to make it fun, interactive, laugh. It wasn't always perfect. The camera wasn't always the best. The lighting wasn't always best, but that didn't matter, right? Because that showed empathy, and that showed that we were real. So that led to me doing thousands of interviews, and then being invited to trade shows for realtors, trade shows for chambers. They would give me a booth. We would bring our microphone, our cameras, and set up in the booth, and they would have us interview the trade vendors. And that was incredible time. There was times I was in line at a club want to go have wine and relax, and I had a date with me, and I'm in line 50 people deep. The bouncer comes back to the back of the line and says, Ed, what are you doing in line? I said, I don't know who you are. What do you mean? He said, no, come with me, please. I said, okay. So we would walk to the front. He'd sit us down like at the chef's table and said, hey, you choose a bottle of wine. Here's some cheese, crackers, hummus, whatever you want on the house today. I said, sir, thank you so much, but who are you? Can you please tell me who you are? Say, hey, you interviewed my brother who owns a roofing company last week at Coffee Grounds. I said, oh, okay. He said, yes. He took that video, put it on Facebook, shared it on his business page, and a young lady called him that had a leak in her roof. He went to go help her. She ended up needing an entire roof. The insurance company paid for it, but he made $10,000 that helped our family that we really needed it. So Ed, whatever you want to eat tonight is on the house. So that happened repeatedly. And the eyes of my eyes weren't open yet. What was happening is you do a video of a business and they end up sharing it with 5,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 their friends that don't know you. Now they know you. Right. So that ended up happening very fast. I could be pumping gas at a weird part in Houston, maybe the Woodlands or even Sugarland, in my sweatsuit on New Year's Day, and somebody recognizes me. And it's just like, it was kind of interesting, but it allowed us to have influence. And that's when I really saw the power of video. Video is just it's a great way for people to share their knowledge, their expertise, to share their story. And I think we really saw the beginning of video and what it is today. I think it's an underutilized tool.
And I agree. I've been in law enforcement since 1980. I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice as a child. Yes. And so I finally retired last year. And within 50 days, I had a podcast and my first recording being posted. And July 7th, I celebrate my first year in podcasting.
Great.
And just me, I am all about humanity. So I love to talk to people and find out who they are, what they're doing, and how they're helping themselves get beyond where they were and making different choices in the world. Because what I do in my life and what you do in your life it's a rippling effect. Mm-hmm. And so it's not about me being better than anybody else. It's me holding myself to myself and being accountable for me. And so when there is issues like 21 years of my 40 years in law enforcement, I dedicated it to troubled youth. Mm-hmm. And I worked the streets of Miami-Dade and Fort Lauderdale with gangs. Wow. And so after 7 years, I said, this is all good, but I want to be able to affect more people. And I went to the school district for the school board police as a security specialist at a high school that was an alternative high school. And I got there and these kids weren't prepared for this little white girl to jump into gang fights. But what they didn't know, I was bench pressing 200 pounds while I was working on the gang task force, because I'm taking down people that are 250, 300 pounds that are in gangs, and they're both male and female. So it wasn't just secluded. And so I needed to handle my own. So when I started breaking out fights at the high school, And I'm just pitching bodies to the side. I'm just grabbing their shirt and just yanking them out of this fight.
Wow.
And they're like, and then so the word got around. Hey, oh my God! Look at this! Look at this! Where did she come from? So I spent 13 years at that
Wow.
high school, and it was the hardest thing I had to do was to leave there.
Yes.
And so I get it, but in that I was able to help people. I was able to help kids who had no guidance and no support graduate from high school, because that's the first accomplishment you make in your life that nobody can take away from you. And it puts you on a competitive level with the rest of the world.
Yes.
Where you go from there, that's on you. But at least this gets you that you're not so far behind the railroad tracks at that point.
Yes. I could tell you that was a really crossroads for me in my life after that event, when I helped raise that money with the 100 volunteers. And I think it was needed in my life at that time. I needed to be able to give without the expectation of getting anything back. It really just, I needed that at that point in my life. I'd lost my mother. I had, and my relationship with my dad had gone sideways, but that's back now, which is great. But the point of the matter is I really needed that in my life. And the doors opened for me after that. I was contacted by nonprofit organizations. I became an executive director for a nonprofit that had no board. And I was able to help other nonprofits and go raise money for a military, or raise money for a child that had leukemia, or a family that was stricken by their mother having breast cancer. The Woodlands and Montgomery County wildfires in Texas, raising money for families that lost their homes. We just had a lot of fun doing that for probably about 2 years. I guess you would call I was a professional beggar, right? I just begged money and had fun, but it was good.
I don't want to say you were a beggar, because you weren't really begging, but you were identifying, showcasing, and then putting it out there so other people can feel good about who they are and be able to give. Yeah. Because I lived in South Florida for 25 years, and I've gone through every hurricane down there since Andrew. And it was a war zone. South Florida, it was supposed to hit Fort Lauderdale. We're battening down. We're doing everything else. And all of a sudden it dipped 5 points on the latitude and hit Cutler Ridge and Homestead. And that's where a lot of people went to get safe. So it was, and the surge was 20 feet high because it was a Category 5.
Wow.
And even in Fort Lauderdale, on the north side of that storm, we had 120, 125, 130 mile an hour winds. And so when you see devastation, you can do 3 things. You can fight and help these people come back to normal. You can freeze and let fear absorb you, or you can allow yourself to champion yourself and hero yourself and be that catalyst that helps everybody else out.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very rewarding time of my life. I can tell you that. And it was a bridge that I needed, right? To cross over and to grow, I guess, really, in a lot of ways, right? To get outside of myself, right? And just give. And I had the ability to do that at that time. And it was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, being in, and of course I was in my element. I got to be in front of people talking and presenting, and I was in my wheelhouse of promoting, and right. And that's who I am. That's who I am, right? Get me in front of the audience and entertain them and talk to them and evoke emotion for them and tell stories. That's what I loved to do. So I guess that really kind of helped develop me too, and coming up with my story and being able to articulate it.
But I liked what you said. You said in a few words that express my tone and style would be an idea champion, a problem solver, and a revenue warrior. Mm-hmm. And those 3 things in a person makes you an earth angel. Mm. And so many people don't realize just by the simple acts that people do for other people changes their lives on a monumental point, that it gives them the knowing that they can now pay it back and do more for other people that they come in contact with. And this is the kind of chain link reaction that I'm hoping that podcasts can, because I only interview people doing extraordinary things for themselves or others. I'm not looking to monetize this, because I'm looking to get beyond the censorship and put out there the millions and millions of people in this country that do amazing things.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot. I can't even tell you.
A lot. And their stories aren't told. And because of the politics and media now, they don't want that message out there. They don't want that unity to show that people can come together and say, I see a human being in front of me. I don't care his hair's black or he's wearing a purple shirt, even though that's my favorite color. But you know what? You see a human being and you treat them the way you want to be treated, that old golden rule.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, so
that's great. I mean, when I say idea champion, it's God has given me the ability, and it's through my hard work. He's opened the doors for me to be able to digest a concept or a message, either a product or a service, and be able to deliver that in a message that exemplifies their brand or their story or their company. So, and I think a lot of that came from me when I started in 2008 at Coffee Grounds, interviewing so many different types of businesses. I think that was kind of the groundwork for that, for me becoming an idea champion, to be able to understand your business, what you do, what your mission is in podcasting, and being able to tell your story now, right? And what you do, or what XYZ company does, or whatever the case may be. My employees always laugh at me because I ask them to do, go out and give their 60-second elevator pitch. And then I do my 67-second elevator pitch, and they look cross-eyed. They say, "Wait a minute, did you write that down?" I said, "No, it came from here."
Yes, it
came from here because yes.
People can tell what is fake and what is mechanical.
Yes.
And what is authentic.
Right. So my role as a company is to try to be an inspirer, really, and to be that idea champion and show them how to really become a master of it. And I told you just need to read it. You need to digest it. You need to eat it. You need to understand it. And then you'll be able to communicate effectively. But you have to do it over and over and over and over again. You know that from being in law enforcement. You have to, it's not easy to be in a confrontational situation and being able to react right away. And it's not easy. You have to be able to react.
There's most people don't realize that you have 0.02 seconds to respond.
Yeah.
In 9 out of 10 scenarios. And it's interesting that you brought that up, because in 1983, I was published as an author for writing a poem called Cops Are People Too. And it was published in the Wyoming Peace Officers Association magazine. And I was honored, but it was just, I was vocalizing my frustration with how people back then were demonizing law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And in that, it's only gotten progressively worse, even though when you look at the statistics, it has gotten better and better and better in the community policing that's been involved, and keeping the same officer in the same beat, which help recognizes and people understand, and they know and they learn that he or she will do their job.
Right.
But you have good and bad in every profession. But right now it's all about demonizing law enforcement again.
Yes.
And unfortunately, with that, officers are being targeted, not for who they are, what they do, or who they are in their lives. It's the uniform that they're wearing.
Yes. Yes, I agree 100%.
And so it is kind of crazy, but let's talk about your business. You being the founder of the Vodcast Hub, is that what you're doing now?
Yes, yes, it is. It's all about video for us every single day. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on this show. I very rarely do I get interviewed myself to talk about myself, but thank you. Um, yeah, so Vodcast Hub is um, it's a platform. Our mission is real simple and three words: amplify your voice. That's really our mission, and everything that we do centers around that. That's our ground. That's our true north, right? To help you amplify your voice or amplify your story or your brand to get your message out there. And we identified a pain point for most entrepreneurs and businesses, and it's time, delegation. They don't have the time. We've been in this boat before ourselves, that coming up with our own content that's fresh, that's innovative, that really conveys our message so that people understand what we do. And coming up with that content on a regular basis is almost a full-time job, right? To be able to promote yourself. So that's where we sort of said, you know what, let's see if we could fit in that gap and try to help a small business, an entrepreneur or a franchise or any type of company sort of leverage our expertise and let us and allow us to amplify their voice and give them some advice to help them take their business to the next level, really. And we do that with curating content, coming up with ideas that evoke emotion. That because I guess we solve the major problem. You and I both know this, that most people are in a trance. They're
Mhm.
worried about their next meal. They're worried about their next gas tank. They're worried about their next, you know, their next month's rent, or their next month's mortgage. Families are being pressed and pushed down right now, right? The economy, there's a lot of things going on, and people need that relief. So people are thinking about a lot of different things. So you have to be able to, even though your product may be the best in the world
Mhm.
and your service may be the best in the world, they may not even hear it if your message is not right.
Well, that's true. And if it doesn't resonate with somebody, they're
Right.
not going to tune in. They're not going to listen. They're going to say, you've got like what, 0.5 seconds to grab somebody's attention nowadays because of social medias and the different things that are out there. So that's very, so you have to be impactful
Yes.
from
And
the
the way
from
I
the
do it, I think you would like this. It's an illustration, but if you draw a line like this, right?
uh-huh.
And then on one side of that line, you have a 1, and then the other side of the line you have a 10, right?
Right.
A 1 and a 10. And emotion is the most important part of this. Is you got to, I guess I would like to say, on the one side it's like, you know, I'll make that's big. So what?
Right. Right.
Right? And on the other side is, you know, I am dying. I'm dying to know.
I no go the way. There you go. Uh-huh.
Right? That's the
Mhm.
10. And that's really where we help people craft that message so that people really want to be able to consume what you're offering. I think, for example, this podcast, what a great way for people to engage in something that's positive, to hear other people's stories like you're doing, people that really make a difference in other people's lives and have a great story. What a refreshing way to learn about new people and possibly get the encouragement that you need, right? As well
Well,
to carry
it's
on.
it's more about having a voice. And
Yes.
when you've seen so much bad that humanity does to each other, again, was a showcase to showcase people doing amazing things and positive things, which you know what, statistically, there's more of that happening than bad stuff.
Yeah.
And but nobody is promoting them. Nobody is saying, hey, I want to tell your story because it's not where you came from, but that foundation led you to make different choices to change your life to become who you are.
Yes.
And so that journey, that path that you took,
Mm-hmm.
look at who you interacted. Look at those times when you weren't sure, man, where am I going from here? And then the universe presents you an opportunity and you're like, or presents you a situation, you're like, I can't do nothing. I have to do something.
Yep.
And then there's the difference in people that say, I can't, and those that know they can and won't accept anything but I can.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's kind of like I had a plan. I really wanted to play professional baseball, but so I did everything I possibly could. And my dad did everything I possibly could to try to get me prepared for that. I got hurt, so I had to adjust. And God helped me adjust.
Yes.
Put the right people in front of me in my life. And I had to change a couple things, right? I had to get outside of myself and my box and not be afraid to speak in front of 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people. Not be afraid to do certain activities that I did in seminary, which people would look at me and say, you did that? Yes, I did. I got a chance to do the Australian rappel. I got a chance to do the seated rappel in Colorado. We're not talking off of a building. We're talking off of a huge
mountain. I grew up in Colorado.
Yes. So that. Yes. I was trained in Gunnison, Colorado.
Okay. I have family there. Yeah.
Do you? Okay. Yes. Yes. So, and we went. I spent up 2 weeks in the leadership program there, and I had the chance to do what a rush to do the Australian rappel. If you don't know what that is, that's going down a mountain head first and running down the mountain. The Australian War. The military used it because all you need is one hand to lock yourself, and you could hold a gun in the other, attacking an enemy. But just the experience to be able to trust your teammates, to trust the rope, and to be able to trust yourself and be in control of your body.
Yeah.
Right? Your mind is in control of your body, and just do it. What the heck? Go for it anyway. Eliminate fear, right? So those are some of the things that I did when I was in leadership. Being stuck on a rock climb for almost an hour, trying to figure out my next move. Just those experiences really helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they do. I get it. Well, it's interesting that, you did all of this stuff. When I moved to Tennessee,
yes,
I was a reserve deputy. And I said, you know what, honey, I'm going to go to the academy. I was 60 at the time.
Wow.
And he says, you're going to do what? And I said, yeah, I think I'm going to go to the academy. And so I told the department, I said, yeah, I'm going to go to the academy. And they go, you're going to do what?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I guess I should say I've been approved to go to the academy, and I go on this date, so I won't be here for the next 12 weeks. And their mouths drop, and it was like, you got accepted to the academy? I did. I was the oldest one there. I did everything that everybody else did.
Wow.
I wasn't the fastest, but I wasn't the slowest one either. I wasn't the back of the pack. I improved my times. I improved my obstacle courses. I passed all my post tests, and I graduated 12 weeks later.
Incredible. That's incredible.
And so again, when I say I can do anything, I can. It's knowing the difference that I can do anything, but I can choose not to do other things that don't inspire me or are going to support me, instead of saying, I can't do that.
Yes.
And when people hear that message, they're like, oh, I've never heard that before. So if you understand you can do anything.
Yes.
And I see this in you, is the reason why I'm bringing it up, is that, again, whoever created that concept of think beyond the box, there's never been a box. It's been limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves.
Yes.
And I honor you for stepping past it. But your first career was a minister?
Yes.
How well, and see, I honor that, because you probably saw as much hostility in family life that I did, unfortunately.
Yeah. So sometimes that was the first call before 911.
Mm-hmm.
wife would call me. I remember a married couple. The wife would call me when the gun is out and the husband's waving it around. And I get there and I see a gun waving around. I say, "Why are you calling me?"
I agree. I know, and a lot of times that's what they do. They call people they trust.
Yes. I
And
was able to calm him down and everything was fine, right? He was just angry. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I was on the front line with that. I still remember I had a friend lose her baby in the pool.
mm,
Um, being the first one called before the ambulance, and you get there, it's, you got to know
CPR.
what not to do and what to do. And so I've lived it as a full-time minister when I was in my early 20s,
Mhm.
you know, proposing to be able to guide people that were 30, 40, 50 years old. And I had the training, I had the knowledge, and I had the heart, no doubt, to be able to help them. But it was quite the experience. I did it full time for several years. I still am a lay minister. I um, still teach, and on the weekends, I'm heading to Titusville, Florida, in August to teach a course as well. So we do a lot of great things, just mainly just to help people, right?
Well, and see, I think I've always known this about you is that you're of service. And when you're of service, you want to help those people connect the dots and get it.
Yes.
But you know that it's their journey and it's their path and it's up to them. But you can present it to them and just say, universe, God, creator, whatever you want to call that. And please bless them and hold them while they figure it out.
Yes. I like to take a triangular approach to life. If you understand what that means, I think you do.
I do.
So, I know what I know about my past, and I know it's over, right? And whatever that means to you, you could describe that, but it's over, right? Every day I could be a new person, and I know about my future, right? So that allows me to be right here, right now. I don't have to worry about the future or be condemned about the past.
Right. I understand that, and it's interesting as I do this is the tree of life pyramid or origami, and but I also see it as no matter what I went through, I could stay in that victimhood and stay down here, or I could become my oppressor or the persecutor or the prosecutor or here I'll get it here. It said the predator of people, because a lot of people that get victimized become predators because they don't get out of the victimhood and they want the world owes me something.
Yes.
Or you can climb this pyramid, get to the top and become your own hero and get out of the junk, get out of the drama, get out of the confusion and get to the top and master that. So this pyramid is going to collapse, but it's going to bring you your next pyramid to come into your life. And you have choices. You can either stay in the past, like you said, or overthink the future and get stuck there and miss the present moment.
Yes. I like to ask myself challenging questions, and I ask my salespeople questions like, I tell them, listen, why don't you look in the mirror and ask yourself one question? What are you pretending not to know?
Or what excuses are you telling yourself you don't want to face?
Yes. Because really, there's only three things that really hold people back, right? You mentioned one of them. It's the limiting beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Low self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
right, is another one, right? And it's because of past experiences, usually, right? Things that they went through, certainly understandable. But you have a choice, like you say, you could either break down or you could break through.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a choice. And
Yes.
I'm not saying it's easy. I
No.
won't even disillusion anyone. But in those choices where you are at now, if you do nothing, time's going to keep moving.
Yes.
So if you choose not to take an action either way and you freeze or you run away from it, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you're still going to be here and time is going to go by and you're going to have regrets.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, being a founder and being agency owner, I have to be always breaking through. I got to be ahead of the game, and that's something I learned overnight. Really, I mean, don't get me. There's times that in my career that I've laid up at night, sweating and not able to sleep, and thinking about the next day. Is my company going to be there?
Mhm.
And I have to make a choice, right? I have to make a choice of what I'm going to do. And the I use the principle. I can't remember what book I read it in, but it stuck to me. It's the PDCA principle. They call it the success cycle. You plan it, you do it, you check it, and then you adjust it when you need to. Or you could call it the Kaizen principle, right? Kaizen principle is always asking yourself, what can you do to make things better?
Mhm.
Right. So that is the principle of a group. I know had the privilege to work for in my career and do some work for them, the Penske group, Roger Penske and his family. And that's their core belief is how can we make things better? Always thinking like that every single day and tweaking things. And that's what I have to do. So I don't have a chance to break down because I send money and support the families in other countries that do work for me, families in Tennessee, employees that work for me.
Mhm.
If I fall down and I break down, their family breaks down.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I take that heavy on my shoulders, sometimes because I have, people that depend upon me and I know they know I depend upon them as well.
But there's a difference. It's you accepting the responsibility and the accountability, where a lot of leadership don't do that.
You have to, everything falls on your shoulder as an entrepreneur and business owner.
Yeah.
You're fooling yourself and you're kidding yourself if you don't think that way. That's why it takes guts. It takes guts to be a founder or someone like yourself going into a second career. It takes a lot of guts and chutzpah to really just make it happen. And your previous career helped you develop that mindset. There's no doubt, right? What you did, the things that you had to make a decision every single day. You had to be on, and if you weren't on, you had a partner, hopefully, that would help you, right? And that's the beauty of having two people together, right? Where you could work together. And
Mhm.
when you're down, they help you. And I'm a big proponent of that as well. And a big proponent of that. But yeah, it's been
So
great.
I've absolutely enjoyed this conversation, Ed. But can you give my listeners 3 tips they can do today to improve um, as entrepreneurs or solo entrepreneurs, how they could improve their business through, let's say, video?
Through video. Okay. Well, the first thing I think I'd like to say, the first point is clarity is so important. Clarity on what it is that your offer is. Clarity on what pain point you solve in the business community or your market. And clarity on your solution of what you're offering and belief in that solution that you really can help somebody. So clarity, number one key. Do whatever you could do to get clarity. I don't care if it's talking to Chris or talking to me. If you need to get clear and you need clarity and you really need focus,
Mhm.
you could book time with me. I won't charge you. We'll have a 30-minute call. I'll help you get clear. Okay. Number two, figure out a way to start doing videos. A lot of people ask me, what camera should I use? Camera should I buy? I say, you know what? The one that you have. Just start. Have someone you love or an employee hold the camera for you and share your knowledge. Share your favorite quote. Just start
Yes.
doing something. You'll be surprised. Go live on Facebook. Try it. Start it. Pro tip videos. Every entrepreneur has pro tips, right? Ideas. Uh, and then, of course, the most important thing is to take action. Like I said, just do a video, do a TikTok video. Just grab your camera that you have. I don't care if you have an Android old phone or you have a webcam. It doesn't matter. It's important just to start.
Mhm.
Remember it, and I'll encourage everybody. It's not about perfection. It's about progress.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Nope.
But nobody's going to know it if it's not done.
And don't worry about how you look, because you know what? There's somebody out there that can relate to you.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody out there that needs to hear your story. So you just understand in your heart, and let me be the one to tell you that your story is worthy. You are worthy of your story being told for your company, for your products and your services. So if you need clarity, going back to that, that's where we could help you become clear and have confidence in yourself and eliminate self-doubt, eliminate limited beliefs, eliminate fear, eliminate anything that's holding you back so you could break through. So that's what we're about, breaking through, not breaking down. So if you need a hand up, I'm not going to give a free handout, but I'll give you a hand up, no doubt. That's kind of what I would like to say.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So here we go. I ask this of everybody I interview to sit back, close your eyes, and take a deep breath in and just get in touch with your 5-year-old child. And what would they say about you now from where you were then?
Wow. I think I would probably say, hey, you've been through a lot. You know, you've had a lot of challenges, but you did it. You married the queen of your life, and you're having fun and you're enjoying what you do. And that's really that matters. That every day I wake up and I'm excited. And I can't wait to get up, you know. So I think looking at myself, I would say I'm pretty excited about my life right now, and I'm pretty happy about it. Yeah.
But look at how far you've come. And even in your most trying moments when you wanted to give up, something in you said, no, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't quit on myself. I might need to rest, but I can't quit on myself. And that's important.
Yeah. When I was 17 years old, and if I could close with this would probably give you chills, but when I was 17, you know, my life was touched in a big way. I was sitting on a couch after a long day of replacing an alternator in my Chevy truck in the summer heat of Houston.
Ooh.
And I used to get these headaches when I was young after being outdoors playing sports that would be excruciatingly painful. I mean, I had to literally go to sleep sometimes for 48 hours and just rest because in darkness. Don't know what it was. It wasn't a migraine, but it would just almost blind me.
Mm.
So I wanted to hear this particular minister teach at a home I lived at with other believers. It was a big house and I lived upstairs. So I took a shower despite my pain and went downstairs to hear him teach. Needless to say, at the end of the teaching, my headache was gone. There was something that happened during the teaching as he prayed, and it was like a hand on my head grabbing it. Of course, I'm 17 years old. I'm thinking, okay, who grabbed my head? who's holding onto my head? There was no hand on my head that did this while he was praying. But it was just there on my head. When he finished praying, the hand released. And as soon as that hand released, from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, you talk about full light, full freedom. I haven't had a headache like that forever after that. So an event like that happened to me at a young age really helped me recognize that, it's not just about me all the time. There's someone that has my back,
Mm-hmm.
and there's someone that has your back as well, right? So an event like that really kind of put a lot of cement in my foundation for what I'm doing in life.
I get that. And I actually am extremely empathic. I've had 3 near-death experiences in my life. I've met my creator 3 times in my life. I've cursed him out. I was mad as a rattlesnake one part of it when I'd lost hope, and it was crazy, and it was nuts. It was
Mhm.
nuts. And in that, when I woke up, it was like, why am I still here? I don't want to be here. I'm done. I can't deal with this anymore. And he just laughed, and that pissed me off even more. So the fact is that in that he says, child, you've known since you were 4. I drank liquid plumber when I was 4 because I was hungry, and it was like I was 4
Wow.
years old. And they don't know why I didn't burn my esophagus and my stomach and my intestines and all that, but it overwhelmed my oxygen levels, and the toxicity of it caused me to flatline.
Wow.
And so since then, I had all those imaginary friends. When we were abandoned, I had an imaginary friend who protected me. And I tried to chase my mother down and saw her look at me in her rearview mirror, accelerate the engine, and put it up in 3rd gear. And back in the 60s, they didn't have automatic engines, so everything was standard. And then I stopped. I literally ran out of my shoes to stop her or catch her. And she accelerated. And this voice came to me and says, I will be with you. And in my latest book, Business Life in the Universe, Volume 6, I honored my spirit guide. And his Native American name is Goya, but most people know him by Geronimo. And he's walked with me my entire life and made me bulletproof. There were several situations. There's been several issues. And then the 3rd near-death experience I had, Ed, was in 2012. I thought I was having a heart attack, and I drove myself from my home all the way up to Cookeville because that's like the best heart hospital in the East Middle Tennessee. And so I drove all the way up there, and I told him, I said, I called my doctor. They told me to come here. So after 4 hours of testing, they said, please, can you just lay down? Don't move around. Don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, what's wrong is it my heart? And they said, no, your heart's fine. But ma'am, you have 2 pulmonary embolisms, 1 in each lung.
Mm.
And at that point, I was like in Charlie Brown's classroom, and the teacher's going, wah, 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 wah.
Wow.
I mean, totally checked out. My mother-in-law passed away from 1 blood clot.
Mm-hmm.
So in the times that I've had these near-death experiences, I've had cancer, I've had a head-on car collision, I've always had this protection about me. And that is my creator protecting me, and I know it, but I have an intimate relationship with him. And it's in knowing that, it gives you that confidence. It gives you that understanding that, what, I might be physically alone, but I am not alone. I'll never be alone.
Right.
And I
That's
have the
great.
support. So I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. I mean, I being a minister, of course, I teach people, obviously. I guess I could just say it and summarize it this way. I mean, to me, the 2 most powerful phrases ever in the universe are, and this is a principle for our business, we live this way, but, number 1, it is finished. And number 2, he is risen. Those are probably the 2 most powerful phrases for me in my life personally. For you, it may be different for other people, but for me, that is those 2 phrases just capsulize everything, right? For me, and that really matters to me to help people in that area of their life to get clarity. Really, there's so much to talk about on this topic. There's no doubt, but
There is, but it's different perspectives. I mean, I totally walked away from organized religion after what happened to me.
yes, me too. I don't like. I'm not about religion. I'm about freedom in Christ, freedom in
Yes.
the relationship that I have with my God and is between Him and me,
Mm-hmm.
and He made me who I am. I have the
Mm-hmm.
abilities I have because of Him, and I have nothing more than you, and you have nothing more than me.
Mm-hmm.
But God has called me to do certain things in my life, and my focus is clear. I know what I need to do, right? Yeah.
And that's what helps. That's what helps every day, even knowing after everything you see and everything you've done and all the experiences, it seals that foundation.
Yes.
And so now you're rock solid.
Yes. And one of the major issues that I had with religion was people, is you just got to understand the real simple part of it is that people are to be loved,
Mhm.
things are to be used.
Mhm.
People aren't to be used, they're to be loved, right? So a lot of times what religion does is uses people, right? And that for lack of knowledge, perhaps they don't mean to do it, but it happens, right?
Mhm.
People just they need to be loved. That's it. It's simple, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it's interesting what religion has done to people, but you know,
Mm.
I it's pretty, it's a pretty simple story. I mean, like I said, it is finished.
Yes,
He
give
is risen.
power, control, and greed. It is a
That's
simple
you.
story. It
That's
is.
you, right? And we love people, right? We love people for who they are, where they're at.
Mhm.
I love them. My dad, he may not have everything accurate, but he's tried to live his life to the best he can. He didn't do everything perfect raising me, but that doesn't matter. He did the best he could. You know what? And I'm happy the way I turned out and the
Well,
things that he taught me.
I see you like I see me, and that's coming from, for me, it was being abandoned to unconditionally loving.
Yes.
So I see the person. I don't see their bad behaviors. I don't accept their bad behaviors, but I don't see their bad behaviors.
Yes.
They did what they did, but that's not for me to judge. It's not for me to assume, and it's not for me to um, make them accountable for it.
Yes.
And when you have that, because my brother was in Brownsville, Texas, and I was 20 years old, and he was hit by a drunk driver standing in
Mm.
his front yard.
Wow. You
And
told
this
me about
guy's
that.
family, real quick, I don't want to keep you too long. This guy's family helped him cover it up. And I, at 20, in
Wow.
my grief, and I mean, I totally lost my junk.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about how I can avenge my brother's death.
Mm-hmm.
My
Yes.
brother wasn't a great person, but he was changing his life. He had found his creator. He found his God. He was going to college. He was working. He was doing all the things to better himself in life. And in that, I'm thinking, I'm going to go kill this guy. I'm going to take him to his parents' house, and I'm going to say, here's your accountability.
Mm.
And then at that point in time, I had had a child. She was just shy of a year old. And I was still breastfeeding her, and she started crying. And all of a sudden I start breastfeeding her, and a voice came to, like, you had the hand, I had the voice that said to me, if you enact the thoughts that you're thinking, you're going to abandon that child like you were abandoned. And you promised me you would never do that. And I like, oh my gosh, what am I thinking here? I'd lost my mind, but what was happening. And that's when I understood my choices in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you know this, and it's like, okay, so it's not about defining me or my past, because of course I was a street kid. I was unwanted. Nobody gave two hoots about me,
Yes.
but I survived it. By the shreds of my teeth, I survived it. And with the help of my creator, I survived it.
Yes.
But when I was of age, it was now my choice to either continue making choices that was going to better me, or become a product of my society. Even though, because I was abandoned, I was labeled as a juvenile delinquent in the 70s. I didn't do anything wrong, but I was categorized as a problem child.
Right. Wow.
So the fact is, the society norms affects the way that you grow up, and the culture and the traditions that you go through. So in that, it is all about love. And it is finding love in your life and loving
Yeah.
yourself more.
And you know what? I look at you. I look at for example, even my wife. I know that she has accepted Christ in her life. Her relationship with God is between her and God. We don't go to a church or a temple, but our relationship with God is in our heart and at home, and that's where we can be a true worshiper, right? And with each other and working together. And I look at her and don't see her. I see the value how valuable it is that Christ died for her,
Mm-hmm.
right? That makes her incredibly valuable,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what he did for you makes you incredibly valuable, more valuable than you could imagine, right? So yeah, you deserve to be loved. Sure, you deserve the kindness, you deserve the gentleness, the meekness, the you know, you deserve all of that. We all deserve that if we come to that realization in our lives that those two important things of it is finished and he is risen in our lives, it makes it really simple. Like I
It
said, that
does.
triangular approach to life. You know, the past is done.
Mm-hmm.
The future, you know, awaits you in glory. To live now, right? Live to your greatest now. That's really what, is I've lived all my life. And I attribute that to our success in our business in a big way is that we live in the now. We live now, right now, today. What can we do today to make things tomorrow better? Right?
And I love that. It has been amazing. I am honored. I am privileged to have had you on my podcast. Hang on just one second. It takes a special kind of individual to dream their dreams, their thoughts or ideas, and turning them into their reality. Ed Garza, you stepped past your fears, you stayed the course, and you had the courage to do the follow through in your life, in your career, and for others. Ed Garza, you've championed yourself. Now we know who you've become. Thank you for sharing all your ideas and thoughts and dreams with us here today.